last thing the professor said before the run gutted him was for us to kill Wolverine.
Really? Huh. You buy that? Yeah, you know, I would think the last thing he said was, Sabretooth!
We kill Wolverine now. That is all that matters.
Whatever you say, Ponytail. You might say no to a little murder. Strike a pose.
Never change, Deadpool. Never change. Anyways, welcome back, true believers and all you Uncanny X-Men fans out there, to another very exciting Marvel's Wolverine-related video. So while it's relatively safe to assume at this point that we're pretty much not going to be receiving any more footage or overall information about Marvel's Wolverine throughout the rest of the year, and we will probably have to wait until 2022 or 2023 to see the next update for this game, I still thought it'd be pretty fun in this video to fully break down my own personal top 5 picks of the main villains I believe need to be featured in this game. And even though Wolverine's rogues gallery may not be as well known in comparison to some of the other superheroes that we have seen get their own standalone AAA games like that of Spider-Man and Batman, I still think there are a ton of foes that Logan could go up against within this game and its story. However, for this list in particular, I am going to be breaking down villains that I do believe directly pertain more to Logan as a character instead of the X-Men as a broader team of superheroes. So to put it plain and simple, I don't think, nor do I actually want to see, Magneto appear within Marvel's Wolverine in the slightest.
Never learn, do you?
Not only do I fully believe that Magneto serves the perfect villain role for the X-Men as a team to go up against, but I also think based on his main power set of controlling any and all kinds of metal, that he would absolutely demolish Wolverine. But who knows, because if it turns out that Insomniac are in fact the developers working on that leaked Marvel multiplayer game, and it ends up being an X-Men title, I could easily see Magneto being the main villain of that game, and even go a step further as to making it kind of a sequel to where exactly the Wolverine game might end off, and possibly include Logan as a playable X-Men character. Still, we will just have to wait and see on that front as to whether or not that turns out to be true. So to begin with my top 5 list, let's start off with one of the most well-known and relatively iconic Wolverine villains out of the bunch, and obviously I am talking about the one and only Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth.
Gotta love our healing factors. I'm gonna enjoy killing you for days.
Wolverine may be the best there is at what he does, but Sabretooth is the best at being bad. Trained as a killer by the same Weapon X program that gave Wolverine his adamantium skeleton, the man often known as Victor Creed is Wolverine's true opposite. A cold-blooded murderer with all of Wolverine's powers, without Wolverine's staunch code of honor. But at the same time, Sabretooth isn't simply just a bigger and stronger version of Wolverine, because he also makes it a point to mentally torment Logan at the same time, exploiting his longtime issues with memory lapses and false programming. Again, Sabretooth is easily one of Logan's most classic foes from the comics, and I do think that if Insomniac were to not include him in one way or another within this game, that would just be a massively missed opportunity. But at the same time, if Sabretooth ends up being included within this game, I do think that he actually will not be the main villain of this core story, and instead, that will actually refer to the number 1 pick on my list, which we will get to a bit later. But going in order from number 5 to number 4 is moving on to a villain who has had several run-ins with various characters in the Marvel Comics universe. But whenever Wolverine is involved in particular, she does have a very interesting connection with him. And in this case, I am directly referring to the villainous Viper, or better known to some of you out there as Madam Hydra. Now, as I previously mentioned, Viper has had her fair share of encounters with all manner of superheroes within the Marvel universe. As one of the world's most dangerous terrorists, she's even gone head-to-head up against Captain America, Nick Fury, and even dealing savage blows to the New Mutants. However, one of her most diabolical schemes involved blackmailing one of her oldest foes of Wolverine into marrying her in order to gain control of the criminal nation of Madripoor, which, in case some of you are unaware, seems to be the main location as to where Wolverine PS5 is taking place, based on the teas that Logan seems to be drinking in the Princess Bar, which again, if you don't know, is a bar located directly in Madripoor. Although after Viper was mortally wounded by Wolverine Wolverine himself, Logan was then able to seek a divorce from their marriage, while Viper briefly maintained control of Madripoor for a time. And yes, while I am fully aware that Madame Hydra doesn't necessarily have any major powers in comparison to some of the other villains on this list, I still think she'd be a very interesting adversary for Logan to go up against within this game, or at the very least, have Insomniac address Logan and Viper's relationship in the past. But as for villain number 3, this is certainly going to be a character who's surely going to put up a major fight against Logan no matter what. And honestly, the mere thought of having this character appear in a completely AAA Wolverine game running exclusively on the PS5 and all of its hardware would simply be a dream come true. And in this scenario, I am referring to my main man, Omega Red.
Please, struggle. That'll make your death taste so much sweeter.
It was during the peak of the Cold War that saw the Soviets transform Arkady Rosevich into the super soldier known as Omega Red. Wielding nearly indestructible tentacles and a death factor capable of killing by mere proximity, Omega Red was terrifyingly beyond their control. His Soviet creators sealed him away in cryogenic stasis where he remained until present day, when he was awoken by the criminal organization known as the Hand, in order to do battle with Wolverine and the X-Men. And if that wasn't enough already, Omega Red's tentacles also have the ability to fully drain others of their life force in order to sustain his own. So yeah, straight up, Omega Red is a flat out badass, and I definitely think including him within Marvel's Wolverine would just be a perfect fit. Especially if he ends up being some type of assassin or hitman hired by the main villain of the game in order to try and kill Wolverine directly. Not to mention that we also know how good of a job Insomniac can do with rendering tentacles on certain character models in their previous games. Mainly in the case of Dr. Octopus within Spider-Man PS4, every single one of his tentacles looked absolutely awesome. And I 110% fully believe that they will be able to apply that same tech here for a character like Omega Red. Now moving on to the penultimate pick on my list is referring to a villain who I personally think doesn't get all that much recognition when compared to some of the other characters that we know from Wolverine's Rogues Gallery. When in actuality, just like with Sabretooth and Viper, this character does have a very interesting relationship with Logan on a personal level. Or at the very least, her hatred for Logan shines through in more ways than one. And obviously, I am referring to the femme fatale herself of Lady Deathstrike.
Holy shit.
In case you didn't know, Lady Deathstrike's father was the man who invented the process of bonding adamantium to the skeletons of living beings. Blaming Logan directly for the theft of this scientific breakthrough, Yuriko Oyama has long sought to kill Wolverine and take the adamantium straight from his bones. While Lady Deathstrike was a heavily trained warrior in her own right, she eventually contacted the otherworldly warrior known as Spiral in order to bond adamantium to her form, and to provide her with numerous cybernetic upgrades, including razor-sharp talons that extend directly from her fingertips. So without a doubt, Lady Deathstrike is definitely not someone that you want to mess with, and would certainly provide as a worthy adversary for Wolverine to go up against within this game. I also think diving in a bit deeper between that relationship that both Logan and Yuriko have with the adamantium bonding process would allow for some very interesting story beats, as well as provide a bit more background history to this particular iteration of Logan and his overall cast of characters. Now, as we draw closer to the end, I actually have one honorable mention featured on this list. And in all honesty, I was very conflicted as to whether or not I should have put this particular character in the honorable mention section or directly make him my number one pick. But in the end, I do think he's better suited for an honorable mention, as I do believe my number one pick just has a bit more of a connection to Wolverine as a character. And referring to one of the toughest foes that Logan has ever had to face off against, we are taking a look at the one and only Tommy Shishido, also known as Gorgon. After joining the ninja cult known as the Hand by killing his entire family and then himself to prove his worth, the Hand then resurrected Shishido, quickly sending him through their ranks and eventually into Hydra. And within Hydra itself, Shishido orchestrated one of the most diabolical plots that he could think of, by capturing and brainwashing Wolverine into serving Hydra as an assassin, forcing Logan to fight his friends and break his code of honor. And not only is Tommy an extremely skilled martial artist and swordsman, but he also has the mutant power to turn anyone he looks at into stone. And for me personally, while I would love to see Gorgon be featured in this game, I do think he's just a tad bit overpowered for Wolverine to go up against solo. well, which is why I did directly place him as an honorable mention. However, my same viewpoint doesn't apply when referring to the number 1 villain choice on my list, which in all honesty I could easily see being the main villain of this entire game. And while this particular villain may not be as well known in comparison to Sabretooth or Magneto, I still think his inclusion within this game would deliver for an extremely encapsulating story. And as you might have expected for any of you comic fans out there, I am talking about the one and only Romulus. If Venom as a villain is the complete antithesis to Spider-Man as a hero, I do think the same logic applies to Romulus and Wolverine. Blessed with the similar kind of powers that Wolverine himself was born with, Romulus played the long game and guided Logan on the wrong path for most of his life. He was extremely cruel in many instances and killed those that Wolverine loved quite a few times. Romulus isn't just insanely strong and is almost twice the size of Logan as a person, but is also a complete and utter puppet master who moves Wolverine around in any way that he wants. In the comics themselves, Romulus intensely manipulates Logan for his own bidding, and in fact, is the one who sends him out of Japan in order to travel to Madripoor. I do feel 100% confident in saying that if Insomniac were to choose a main antagonist for Wolverine to go up against within this game, I can easily see Romulus filling in that spot perfectly. We currently don't know much about this version of Wolverine's background with all the other villains I've listed so far, and furthermore, whether or not he's already met Romulus within this game's universe. But based on the pure greatness that we did see with the previous Rogues Gallery in Insomniac's past Marvel games of Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, I have complete and utter faith in them that they are going to deliver some truly iconic Wolverine villains, while also putting their own unique twist on them to deliver a Wolverine story we've never seen before. And with all that said, everyone, that's the video I have for you today, and please let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think of my top 5 list and my honorable mention for the main villains I personally think Marvel's Wolverine needs, and which villains would you like to see be featured in the game yourself? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy, and for more Marvel's Wolverine videos like this in the future. And without further ado, peace out.